of Saratoga County. It is being live streamed and recorded and will be posted on the school district's website. League rules require that if a Meet the Candidates event is recorded, it must be broadcast or rebroadcast in its entirety. With that in mind, we ask audience members to refrain from filming any portion of this evening's event. If we see someone taping, we will need to stop the event and ask you to put the phone or camera, although I think nowadays no one's walking around with a separate camera. I think it's just the phone away. My name is Sue Epstein. I am a member of the League of Women Voters of Saratoga County. I live in the city of Saratoga Springs, and I will be your moderator tonight. The League of Women Voters of Saratoga County is a nonpartisan, volunteer political organization dedicated to the informed and responsible participation of citizens in government. The League never supports nor opposes any political party or candidate. That has been the League policy since 1920. Membership is open to anyone who is eligible to register and vote, so please consider joining your League. I would like to thank the Shenendehowa PTA Council for arranging this event, and you, the audience, for attending and watching. I realize that you may hold strong opinions regarding issues that we will discuss tonight. Each candidate was sent information outlining the format and ground rules for tonight's forum. We expect candidates and the audience will treat each other with respect. Please refrain from cheering, applauding, making comments, or otherwise interrupting the proceedings. We have 5 candidates this evening, and we want to give them each a chance to answer as many questions as possible. Please hold all your applause until the end. When all candidates have finished their closing statements, I will ask for a round of applause for all of our candidates. We have received questions from the public in advance. These were reviewed by League members, and questions were selected to be representative and to avoid redundancy. Questions of a personal nature are never included. Candidates, this is your opportunity to let voters know your stance on these topics and how you will address the issues facing this community and school district. Deal with the facts. In your closing, please do not put opponents on the spot with no chance to reply. We have timers for this evening's event who will hold up signs for the candidates to glance at. Green means the candidate has 1 minute left. Yellow means 30 seconds left. And red means stop. Time is up. A bell may also ring when time is up if you are not able to stop. The names of the 5 candidates for the 2 school board seats in alphabetical order are Abigail Gomes, Naomi Hoffman, Patrice King, Eric Leander, and Sarah Shantz. Now it is time to hear their 2-minute opening statements. We conducted a random drawing of candidate names to determine the order in which you see the candidates seated here tonight and the way that we will start the evening. We will then rotate those, so each candidate will have a chance to go first. Okay, so the first to speak is Sarah.
Good evening, and thank you for being here tonight. I truly appreciate the opportunity for thoughtful civic engagement and informed discussion. My name is Sarah Shantz, and I'm seeking a seat on the Shenendehowa Board of Education because I care deeply about public education, student success, and our community. My husband and I have proudly raised 5 daughters at Shen. 4 Shen graduates, all went to RPI for engineering, and 1 current Gowanna Middle School student. Over the past 22 years, I've remained actively involved in our schools through volunteering, advocacy, PTA leadership, and community engagement. Over the years, I've served in a variety of leadership and volunteer roles, including president of the Gowanna PTA, district committees such as professional learning and SAVE committees, and the RPI Leadership Council. These experiences have allowed me to work collaboratively with families, teachers, staff, administrators, and community members while gaining a strong understanding of our district and challenges facing public education today. Education has always been central to both my personal and professional journey. I studied elementary education in Spanish at Russell Sage College, began my career as a classroom teacher, studied educational psychology, and later earned a master's degree in health law from Albany Law School. Focused on advocacy, ethics, policy, and wellness. I've also worked as a paralegal and community advocate, experiences that have strengthened my communication, collaboration, and problem-solving skills. I am very excited and grateful to have earned the endorsement of both the Shen Teachers Association and the CSEA. I look forward to our community discussion this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Next is Patrice.
Thank you to the PTA Council for hosting tonight's forum. Thank you to everyone who has taken the time to be here in person and virtually. Your commitment to staying engaged in our schools is appreciated. My name is Patrice King, and I am currently serving on the Board of Education after being appointed in January. I stepped into this role and immediately had to learn quickly how to navigate complex decisions that impact our students, staff, and community. It has been both a challenge and an incredible honor. I come to this work not only as a board member, but as someone deeply committed to public education and the people who make it work every day. I have been an elementary teacher for 29 years. In addition, I spent 25 years as an active union representative advocating for educators and supporting collaboration between staff and leadership. I have served as co-president and secretary of several PTA units in the district, as well as participating in committees that benefit the district and our students. These experiences have shaped how I approach decision-making with a focus on listening, respect, and finding common ground. Our schools are strongest when families, educators, and the community work together. The PTA represents that partnership and is at its best, bringing voices together in support of our students. I believe strongly in transparency, thoughtful leadership, and keeping students at the center of every decision we make. I am now running for a full term on the Board of Education because I care deeply about the future of our district, and I want to continue contributing to the important work ahead. Thank you, and I look forward to a great conversation tonight.
Thank you, Patrice. Next is Abigail.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Abigail Gomes, but you'll probably hear everyone call me Abby. I prefer Abby. Thank you to everyone who's here this evening. Thank you to the organizers of this event. I want to start by telling you all who I am because I believe that matters a little bit more than my resume. I am a mother of 4 children who are all here with me this evening. I have 1 at Orangen, 2 at Coda, and 1 at High School West. I can't believe I have a high schooler. This is not abstract for me. This is the decisions that the board makes affects my kids directly every single day, and that is personal. I'm also a youth development professional who has spent my career building systems and spaces where young people feel supported, challenged, and most importantly, seen. I have sat across from children who are brilliant, who are capable, who have so much to offer, and who still somehow feel invisible inside the institutions that are supposed to serve them. Being a mother and doing this work have taught me the same lesson. Not just the ones who, every child deserves a champion, not the ones who raise their hands, not just the ones who fit the mold, every child. And when a young person has even one adult in their corner who genuinely sees them, everything changes. That is the lens I want to bring to this board. Shen is an exceptional district, and I want to be honest about that, but exceptional on average is not the same as exceptional for every student. And I believe that we can do better, and my campaign is built around 3 words: every student seen. I bring a mother's heart, a professional's mind, and a genuine commitment to asking hard questions on behalf of every family in this district. Thank you.
Thanks, Abby. Next is Eric.
Good evening, folks. My name is Eric Leander. I'm an attorney and a businessman. I've advised and counseled small and medium-sized business clients with complex matters for the better part of 15 years. I'm here solely for the benefit of my children and the community at large. Education for me and my family is essentially a family value. There was no question growing up that I would go to college, despite the fact that my parents were blue collar at best. And to that end, I'm the first person in my family to graduate from college, much less get a professional degree and a postdoctorate. In that regard, I've also been part of the educational infrastructure insofar as my wife is a public school teacher, and as early as 2012, we founded a private, not-for-profit pre-K to first grade school here in Clifton Park called the Sarah Marie School, where I served on the board of trustees as both the vice chair and the chairman of that board. So, in essence, I've been involved at all levels of governance for everything from nonprofit through profit businesses, and am very attuned to the issues that deal with public education, specifically the many issues that face students and their teachers. My biggest motivation here is to make sure that we are positioning students in this district for a future that right now is kind of uncertain. In the face of ever-changing technology, in the face of a shaky economy, what can we do to make sure that when students graduate from Shen, that they can integrate with the larger community and be successful and be happy with the lives that they're living.
Thanks, Eric. Next is Naomi.
Hi, thank you. Good evening. I am seeking a re-election because I believe experience, steady leadership matters during periods of transition and growth for our district. As a Clifton Park resident for more than 32 years, I've had the privilege of watching our district grow and evolve. My husband and I raised 2 sons from Shen that went through Shen, and we watched their journey from kindergarten through graduation and now into an increasingly competitive workforce. It's given me a deep appreciation for the lasting impact our schools have on students and families. My perspective has been shaped through more than 2 decades of volunteer leadership in STEM, the arts, and student enrichment programs such as Odyssey of the Mind and First Lego League. I show up for all of our kids. Those experiences have connected me directly with students and families across this district. Combined with more than 30 years of professional experience in fiscal oversight and governance, they have shaped the practical and collaborative approach I bring to school board service. Since joining the board in 2017, I have worked to balance educational excellence with financial, fiscal responsibility and transparency while helping guide the district through periods of growth and transition. I'm especially proud to have served as board president when the district was presented with the opportunity to acquire 5 Maxwell Drive, which is now TRIA, and develop the path toward full-day kindergarten, and more recently to help usher in our new superintendent. I believe strong boards provide steady leadership, remain visible and approachable within the community, and keep students at the center of every decision. That is the approach I brought to my service on the board and the reason I'm asking for your support for re-election.
Thank you, Naomi. Okay, it's now time for the question segment. Candidates, you have up to 1.5 minutes to respond to a question. You are not required to respond. You may pass if you wish. Each candidate will be allowed 2 opportunities to request an additional minute during this part of the session for a rebuttal or to expand on an answer. Please hold up one of your red cards and wait to be acknowledged by me should you want to do that. This can only be done during the Q&A part of the session. Questions will be directed at the candidates in rotation so that everyone gets a chance to go and respond first. Feel free to ask me to repeat a question if needed, okay? The first question is going to go to Patrice, and here it is. What are the primary reasons you are running for the Shenendehowa Board of Education, and how do these connect to the board's range of responsibilities, for example, budget, curriculum, student services, staff, and facilities?
Thank you. serving on the Board of Education has always been in the back of my mind. And I was raising 2 small children with my husband. Timing was never correct. I never felt like I could give the time to be present for the amount of time that needs to happen being on the Board of Education. I wasn't willing to give up time with my family in order to do that, but has always been intriguing to me. As someone with a lifetime in education, it's a way that I felt that I could give back to my community. Now that my daughter has graduated and my son is 17 and has a car and is independent, now is the time that I have the time to serve. My family is independent now, and I feel like I can give back in this way. I think my background in education and in serving on PTA units and my union at my school, being involved in several different boards, I feel like I can bring that kind of collaboration to the board.
Thank you. Abby?
Thank you for the Abby. I'm running because I was actually one of those students that I excelled academically, all throughout my school years, but I was also the student that was not seen. And so we did not come from a rich house and a rich background, and there are times where I was coming to school and folks and smiling and showing up anyway, and no one knew that my mom was making an effort to go from point A to point B every single day. And so I did not know the inner workings of a school district, but my mom understood the need to be at the table. She understood the need to speak up and speak forward, and because we were new to this country, all she knew was the PTA. So she took whatever she could, whatever she knew, and she worked through the PTA to make sure that the things that she needed for her children were at the very least being made happen there. And so I'm taking from her example, and because I have my 4 children in this district and other children that are, by extension, my children through my program, I want to be able to step up and step forward for them as well.
Thank you. Eric?
As I said earlier, I'm primarily driven by, the fact that I have 2 kids in the district, and the fact that I would like to be able to give back to the community. I didn't mention I've been living in Clifton Park since 2008, and education, as I've mentioned, it's essentially a family value for us. And so when the opportunity came to run for the board, I said, now is a good time for this. My son had just turned 6 years old. He's starting to be a little bit easier to deal with, and so I'm able to get out and do more. And I saw this as being a perfect opportunity to give back to the community, and hopefully bring a new perspective, bring a certain way of addressing problems and solving problems, because at the end of the day, that's what a lawyer does. And figured it was a good opportunity to be part of a community that I've been cloistered away from since COVID, essentially. So, and in terms of how does that correlate into some of the issues here with the school, I admit freely that there's probably going to be a lot of things I have to learn on the job the first year or so. But that being said, I bring to the table the ability to help solve problems, the ability to build consensus, and the ability, primarily as a transactional attorney, to help negotiate solutions where you don't always have, where you have sides that have competing interests. Let's put it that way.
Okay, thank you. Naomi?
Yes, thank you. I'm here, so I shared in my opening that I'm here, I've been here for my children's entire journey through Shenendehowa, and I am intimately involved with lots of the goings-on in the community. I am passionate about public education. I feel that there have been attacks on public education. I feel that it's really important to be here and to be present, just to be boots on the ground. I hate to necessarily use that term, but to be present so I can see firsthand what's happening, so I can provide perspective, to be part of the conversation. Also, if I'm present, then it's more likely that someone will share. If they trust me and I'm approachable, which I do my best to be, then those concerns and issues are brought to me. But we're also about to open a new full-day kindergarten center, and with that comes big fiscal responsibility. And also we have some legislative challenges that are in place, and watching those and seeing how they're going to play out long-term is something I watch closely. It's something that I'm concerned about, because whatever we put in place today, we have to support and sustain going forward. And so I have a lot of institutional knowledge from the many years I've been on this board. And I plan to continue that work to support our new superintendent, to support full-day kindergarten. We don't want to go backwards. We just want to keep going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And Sarah?
I'm running because I have always had a strong passion in public service. From when my first children started Orenda Elementary School, I was on the Principals Partnership Committee, making differences there, PTA, volunteering to help support teachers. This journey has come right straight through to my last child who's in 8th grade. And I am passionate, I have the experience, I have longstanding commitment, and I really do believe in Shen. It has been amazing for our 5 daughters. I just can't even say enough about our students, and I'm very excited. This journey for me has been, the time is now. From the beginning to the end, I feel like I've been preparing for this with my experience and my commitment to our children.
Okay, thank you. Well, now we're going to go to our second question, and for this one, we're going to start with Abby. Prior to running for the school board, what was your involvement with the school district, such as PTA, Booster Club, or other items?
So I will be honest and say I am very new to Clifton Park. This is my 3rd year in Clifton Park. And I have an athlete and a half. And so that has been taking up most of my time here. I have been, a Shen basketball mom and a Shen football mom. And at one point I was a Shen cross-country mom. And so I've been spending a lot of time in the sports world. Outside of this, my connection to Shen, I run the Black and Latino Achievers Program and the Youth in Government programs through the Capital District YMCA, where we have many of our Shen students that are participating in that program, and so that has been my connection. And just sitting and talking with them in the evening when there's no pressure on them for anything else, that's when they get to open up, and they share a lot of things, which some of the things made me say, things that they had wonderings of but had no context for. And so I want to be able to give them an opportunity to have someone who can be a voice for them on that board to kind of answer some of those questions that or wonderings that they may have.
So my involvement with Shen has been vicariously through my kids. I believe in showing up for them, and so whether that be every single Halloween parade, regardless of the time of day, whether that be the Shooting Stars dance at Orenda, where my daughter likes to go and do all the silly fun pictures, or going to the school play, I show up for as much of it as I possibly can. And surprisingly, I'm actually able to show up for a lot of it. So that's the extent of my involvement.
Okay, thanks. Naomi?
Hi, yes. I believe getting involved in our community is so very important, and it really is it's important for board service. I want to go back to, I got involved with the preschool PTA back in 2005, and it was an arm of PTA Council at the time, and I helped organize the events. And so that was the first time I had an opportunity to even meet our superintendent, was through that committee. That fed into the elementary experience where I got involved with arts and education. I launched their Odyssey of the Mind program. I also launched their elementary robotics program that's grown into a very large program today, which has 49 elementary teams throughout the district, plus 7 middle school teams. So it's something that I'm still involved with. I've been doing it since I launched that program in Orenda. I do believe that this volunteering is so important to not only understanding your community, but to be part of the problem-solving process. I feel that it's easy to complain, but strong communities are built from people that are stepping forward, they're getting involved, they're offering innovative solutions, they're part of the solution. And that's something that I feel that I have been part of this community in that way. And so I just feel very connected to the families because of this work. And so I think the question was prior. So some of this started before I ran for the school board, because I didn't join the school board until 2017. So really it started back in 2005 and it's continued. And it's something I really enjoy.
Thanks, Naomi. Sarah?
Would you mind just repeating the question?
I don't mind at all.
Okay.
Prior to running for the school board, what was your involvement with the school district, such as PTA, Booster Club, or other activities?
So I've been involved at the Shen campus for 22 years plus. My involvement was whatever my children were interested in. So when we started at elementary school and one of our daughters said, I want to do robotics, I rolled up my sleeves and I said, okay, I guess that's what we're doing. And so I did that for a couple of years. And then when another daughter said, we should have some classes after school for science, and they were interested because they all ended up being engineers, we collaborated and did a wonderful program that still stands at Arundel today called Sparks. And it was whatever they wanted, because we had different learners and different children. I was able to help in many different areas. And fast forward every step of the way, and currently I'm the Gowanus PTA president. I've been the PTA president for 2 years. This is our last daughter walking through the halls. And I'll continue to, invest into them and do as much as I can for our school and our community.
Thanks, Sarah. Patrice?
Thank you. My children didn't come here for kindergarten because it was not full day. And when my daughter was in 2nd grade, Rebecca Oshner said to me, could you be on our PTA at Octave? We're looking for a secretary. And I said, oh, okay. It was my first chance to actually get involved. From that moment on, I have been involved in Octave PTA as secretary, co-president. One of my co-presidents is here tonight. And then our children moved on to Acadia. I was on the PTA board there. I also served on PTA Council when they got to high school. I was on Octave Partnership Team. And I would always volunteer, or if I saw a need, there was a program that was not working well for Christmas shopping, for holiday shop for students at Octave. So I took that on and revamped it. I never wanted my children to be known as Patrice's kids. They needed to be the main student. They needed to be the most important thing. So I always tried to do things in the background, volunteering in the evening. I was rarely there during the day because I have a full-time job and I wanted them to have their own school experience apart from me. So yeah, partnership team, volunteered, and I was volunteered at several events.
Thanks, Patrice. Okay, we're now going to move on to our next question, and Eric, you will be the first to answer this one. How would you work to keep Shenendehowa's board focused on the needs of the district while also responding to strongly held views in the community? How would your overall governing philosophy and personal opinions shape that work?
Sure. I mean, we're, to the extent that any of us get elected to the board, we're placed there by the community at large. There are many different constituencies, which we all know, including the teachers, the administration, the staff. But at the end of the day, we are placed here by the community. A lot of what I've heard while talking to different people is, what most people are looking for is transparency and to feel like they actually have a vote, or not a vote, a voice, and that they're not actually being heard. So to a certain extent, I think what we need to do is to open up lines of communication, make sure people are feeling as though they're heard, and then ultimately making decisions based on all of the information that we have available to us, together with all of the, the perspectives that are brought to us. I always say that if you have a good deal, it means, everybody walked away from the table a little bit angry, because you can never really get everything that you want. But we are a community, and I think what we need to remember is that as a district, as an organization, we are trying to serve the needs of the students, and so that needs to be paramount. We need to be making decisions that benefit the students and the outcomes that they are going to achieve as a result of our efforts and our decisions.
Thank you. Naomi?
Can you repeat it just one more time?
Yes, absolutely. How would you work to keep Shenendehowa's board focused on the needs of the district while also responding to strongly held views in the community? How would your overall governing philosophy and personal opinions shape that work?
Okay, so one of the things I think is very important to say is that no individual board member acts alone. Each board member has just one vote, and effective boards work collaboratively to make thoughtful decisions on behalf of this district. Our role is to ensure that our schools remain focused on providing students with high-quality education, while also being responsible stewards of taxpayer resources and community trust. This also includes setting policy, creating responsible budgets, supporting and evaluating our superintendent, and establishing long-term goals for the district. Strong boards foster collaboration and respect, and teachers, staff, administrators, families, community members, all of these are essential partners in that process. Boards are most effective when it provides stability, transparency, and leadership, while also allowing educators and administrators to do the work they were trained to do. At the end of the day, every decision should come back to just one question, and that is, what is best for students and the long-term strength of our district? Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah?
Okay. Number one, I think we just need to always keep reminding ourselves to keep the focus on our students and best decisions. And I think with the experiences that I've had, that I have built a strong approach to building relationships and partnerships. And I think that I could bring that to the table just to advance some of those things. I also think bringing more voices to the table, that's something that I quite often do in different areas, including our PTA and some other nonprofits that I am a part of. And when you have more voices, it's a reminder of just making sure that we are looking at the big picture. And every decision is not only focused on the student, but we're also making sure that it's multifaceted and aligns well with Shenendehowa goals. My legal background and attention to detail, I think, is also something that could be beneficial to some of the creating and assessing current policies. And I do feel that I really do focus on team spirit and supportive and just really welcome all voices. So I think that's about it.
Okay, thanks. Patrice?
Can you repeat the second part? I'm missing the second part.
Sure. You want me just the second part? Just the second one?
Yes.
Okay. How would your overall governing philosophy and personal opinions shape that work?
Thank you.
Sure.
I believe that the person sitting at the table on the Board of Education is a representative of the community, of the faculty, of the staff. That person is a representative, and I take that role very seriously. It comes down to what is the best for the students. Students should be first, always. But all of the stakeholders need to have a voice at the table. I hope to be that voice at the table. I think that conflicts arise when someone feels like they are being unheard or they are unheard. If we can give everyone a space at the table, I think that will eliminate some conflict, and we're all kind of looking at a common goal. We have to get down to what the common goal is. So in doing that, my role is to listen to community members and to my board members, my fellow board members, to inform myself about issues, inform the people that I'm speaking with, to collaborate, and then to communicate. And communication would, of course, mean transparency.
Thank you. Abby?
Thank you. So my philosophy, I'll start with my philosophy, which is, as I've mentioned, that every student needs to be seen. But what does that really mean? It's not just, me being at the table and being a voice and speaking on their behalf. It's also showing them how I've spoken on their behalf. And so if they tell me they want 6 apples, I'm going to do the work to get 6 apples and then show them and give them the 6 apples, right? And so when you talk about community views and community needs, oftentimes the conflict comes because those who are standing to represent don't show and prove what they've been talking about. And so it's really important that when we say that we want to make sure that students are seen, that we are actually showing them and that they are seeing themselves being seen. There needs to, I always say the proof isn't in the pudding, the proof is in the eating of the pudding.
Okay. The next question then is question number 4, and we'll be starting with Naomi. What principles should guide the board's decisions where there are community concerns about curriculum or books in the library? How would you balance parental input, student needs, and professional judgment?
One more time, please.
Sure. What principles should guide the board's decisions where there are community concerns about curriculum or books in the library? How would you balance parental input, student needs, and professional judgment?
Okay. So again, getting back to the board's role, it's really important to understand at the highest level that it's setting policy, adopting budgets, evaluating the superintendent, et cetera. But this question gets to the relationship between our community and the board directly. Much of this is governed by state education department guidance. So when it comes to books, that issue, whether what is in the classroom or not, I know that there have been, over the years, it's been a point of contention. I would say that as of late, probably not so much. And what I mean by that is, at the time that it was talked about, what is the board's role in deciding what's in the classroom? And generally the response was, it's important that, one, there is New York State guidance, but there's also the teacher-student-family relationship. And so I learned at that point in time that in our libraries, many of our librarians had books set aside so that if it was ranked a certain way, they were given an opportunity, meaning that if it was considered for an older child, before that child could check it out, the librarian could have a conversation with the child. And also, parents had an opportunity to have a say in what they were checking out of the library as well. My point being is that there is no one solution for every situation. But being open and listening, it actually keeps the contentious situations at bay where people feel like they have no choice, they're not being heard. It's really important to keep that communication. Thank you.
Thanks, Naomi. Sarah?
Would you mind asking just?
I don't mind at all. I can repeat it. Okay. What principles should guide the board's decisions where there are community concerns about curriculum or books in the library? How would you balance parental input, student needs, and professional judgment?
Well, this is an easy answer for me. I firmly believe on relying on expertise. And so when you're talking about libraries, we need to go to our librarians, we need to go to our literacy specialists. We need to get input from the stakeholders who have this experience to give to us. any other decisions, curriculum, those kinds of things, we absolutely have to be listening and be guided by the people who hold the experience and the expertise. And when that comes back to the board, it has to be a very thoughtful, deliberate conversation because it affects our students, and we always want to make sure that we are doing the best and focusing on best decisions for our students.
Okay, thank you. Patrice?
I think when there are community concerns, again, it goes back to everyone needs a voice at the table. So we need to listen, and we need to inform, get informed ourselves and inform. And we can be informed by the section of the community, section of the school community that's being affected. If we're talking about books, it would be the library. If we're talking about politics in the classroom, we're talking about the social studies department. So we're going to be having conversations and getting to some common ground and hearing what everyone wants, and then kind of looking at the policies that are already in place and seeing if policy needs to be changed with everyone's input.
Thank you. Abby?
So I am the community. I am a member of the community, and I am also a parent with concerns, right? And so being those two things, the professional in me would want to know what the parents' solutions are, right? So if you're coming with thoughts and concerns without a solution attached, then you're just complaining, and complaints doesn't move the needle for anything. And so I would like to have opportunities for parents to provide their possible solutions around their concerns, and then I can take that back and using community partners and using experts around that to try to come to a resolve, come to a common understanding, or just come to some kind of a agreement where we can get somebody's side, a little bit of both sides, we should say, achieved. It's not easy. We don't have all the answers. We can't do everything. We're just one body, and as you mentioned, a lot of this stuff is being governed by state ed, so a lot of it is out of our control. But there's things that we can do locally and in-house. But I would like to have those resolutions come from the parents. That's the voice.
And Eric?
Yeah, I mean, so the point has already been made, so I won't beat it to death. But, to the extent that we have a state mandated curriculum, there's not really a whole lot you can do about it. But we need to, my opinion is we need to be able to empower the teachers to apply their expertise and to be as flexible as possible to get the most out of that curriculum that they can. We are not the ones that are in the classroom, and I don't know how to teach in a specific scientific way that an actual teacher who does this every day is able to do. My wife has a master's of science in education. She's a scientist, so it's like if she's got just as much education as I do, I think we need to let teachers do what they do best, which is teach, and we need to support them in that. Now, with respect to, I think the veiled political issue is, at the end of the day, it's really hard for me to divorce parent and child. At the end of the day, to the extent that something we are doing affects a particular child or the students in general, we need to be concerned about what the parents think and what they have to say on the matter. Now, certain things won't be able to be solved because of different either state mandates, legislation, regulation, whatever, but at the end of the day, we serve the community, we serve the students, and you can't separate the parent from the student. It's just not appropriate. Beyond that, I think we need to rely on common sense.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to move on to the next question, and we'll be starting with Sarah. How do you understand the role of diversity, equity, and inclusion in Shenendehowa's schools? How would your views on these values guide your decisions as a member of the Board of Education?
So I have a strong belief that every student that walks through our doors must feel supported And this is part of that. Whatever the student needs to feel supported needs to be conveyed. We have a wonderful school that has resources for our students. And I feel passionate about making sure that every student gets what they need and giving parents the resources to find those people in our schools, which can sometimes, as a parent, be tricky to navigate. And so that's a whole nother piece of it, helping parents navigate some tricky situations.
Okay, thank you. Patrice?
In terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion, every child that walks through the door needs to feel like they belong, like they're being seen, like they are liked, and they need to have all of the basic things that we take for granted in order to be able to be successful learners. It's important for kids to, we just had, at the board meeting last night, we had a wonderful presentation about best buddies. And it's so important for kids to see each other, groups of kids to see each other and interact with each other, whether it is through a Best Buddies program, through an international studies program. At Shen, we have a lot of different activities and clubs and opportunities for kids to get involved with each other. And I think that's very important for their mental health and their well-being, and that it just leads to success in the classroom and beyond.
Thank you. Abby?
You repeat the question.
Absolutely. How do you understand the role of diversity, equity, and inclusion in Shenendehowa's schools? How would your views on these values guide your decisions as a member of the Board of Education?
So what I do know is that there are individuals in this district that are absolutely champions for students in this, that participate in this district. What I also know is that there are a good handful of folks who don't understand what the diversity, the equity, and the inclusion is in this district. It's not a statement that's on the website. It's not, it's not just talking about gender and race. It's about the whole child, right? And and that includes their families, that includes their histories, that includes their culture, includes all of those things. When we talk about equity in the classroom, that's where it's most important, because the child needs to be able to see themselves in the math problems that they're doing. They need to be able to see themselves in the stories that they're reading in order for them to understand, right? We learn from the things that we like, and so if what they're reading has no connection to them, it becomes very difficult for them to like it. And so it's really important that in the curriculum, in the activities that we're doing, that we're not just throwing Taco Tuesdays, that we are really talking about what this culture is and how this culture will help you get, or knowing or understanding what this culture is will help you get to where you want to be professionally and personally in life.
Thank you. Eric?
I mean, my stance on this is that, we need to support our students, period. We live in a multicultural community that comprises all different races and creeds. We also have income differentials here. We live in a school district where you have some of the highest earning people in the state of New York, and we also have, some of the largest trailer parks I've ever seen. So there's an entire spectrum of diversity, equity, and inclusion that needs to be considered. And at the end of the day, the most important thing is to have equal opportunities for everyone and extra support where it's needed. We need to foster a sense of overall community and unity, and not one that is divided along identity politic lines. I don't think that that's necessary or appropriate. At the student level, we need to create a community of people who all look at each other as equals and who want to, be a part of that community together and go into the future and make the world a better place because of it.
Thank you. Naomi?
Hi, thank you. So as far as how my views guide the decision on this board, I do believe that inclusion is important. And So I do serve on the DEI committee, and I've been serving on it for several years, and it has really opened my eyes to the inequities and the reasons why certain students have a hard time learning. But the reality is also that in addressing this problem, it's going to lift everyone up. Everyone's going to have the same playing field and the same opportunities. This is something that I honestly did not fully understand until I started seeing the work behind it. So it's been so extensive. They've done book studies. It's been on grading. There's so many facets to this. Currently, there's a focus on student voice, and they talk about windows and mirrors, and that statement is really meant to reflect. So when students see themselves in the materials that are being used to teach them, they see themselves in the examples. It's going to create a different learning environment, one that they're more receptive to. And so it has really opened my mind to the importance of how this has to be in every part of our work. It's not a woke statement. It's an important recognition of how we value each other in the classroom and also in the greater society.
Okay, thank you. I want to acknowledge, Abby, that you raised your card for an additional minute.
Yes, I wanted to also add that when we are thinking about DEI and the work that we're doing on the board, there's questions that we have to ask when we're making these decisions that involve the students in this way. From the diversity standpoint, the question is it mixed enough, right? And not to the point where it doesn't matter anymore, where they're not even seeing themselves. The equity part, are they feeling like they can start where everyone else is starting, regardless of where they are in life? And for the inclusion, it's not just their voice, but are they seeing the impact of their voice? And so while we're making the decisions that we're making, we have to make sure that those questions are being answered, along with others, but those questions are being answered at the very least for every single decision. Because then you can truly say that there has been a diverse and equitable and an inclusive nature around the decision making for this particular project.
Thank you, Abby. I want to acknowledge that Patrice also had her card raised, and then we'll go to Sarah.
Thank you. A few years ago, Shen was the first district that I knew of that asked each student to pronounce their name into a microphone, and that was given to the educators, so that the educators are saying names that they may not be familiar with correctly. Just imagine yourself going to work every day and being called the wrong name, having your name mispronounced time and time again all day long, and people will say, oh, sorry. It means something, and it means something to the students, and it means something to the families, and I was very impressed when I saw it. It happened at Shen several years ago, and I hope I want to bring more of that inclusion to the district.
Thank you. Sarah.
Thank you. So over 22 years ago, when our first daughter entered Orenda, this was not something that anybody was talking about, but we had a group of volunteers who saw a need. And we didn't understand what we were seeing, but we enacted a scholarship for the after-school program, and people came together. So I think that this is another way for communities to be communicating with each other so that we can always make sure that kids are seen and supported. And that is also important to be in school volunteering, so that is another way to support that. Fast forward though, at Gowanna, we go out of our way to make sure that we are always focusing behind the scenes so that every student participates alongside their peer at every activity we have, just to have fun and just enjoy it. So we do work hard to make sure that everybody has access and equity. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And Naomi, I see you had your card raised, so you can go next.
Yes, I just wanted to add, because I meant to say this, I wrote it down and I just didn't get to it, I ran out of time. And that is, our policy does reflect the work of the DEI committee, and that, when those who serve on that committee, they are asked to look at it also through that lens, to make, and we have, so it is directly, it's pulled right back to the board table. It's something that that even if we're not on that DEI committee, those people who are serving on policy are seeing it because there are representatives at the table talking about, okay, these changes no longer relate to the world that we live in. And also our code of conduct, the restorative circles, things like that are because of our DEI initiative work that's going on.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll now move on to the next question, which we'll start with Patrice for this one. How would you handle disagreements on the board? Could you support a board decision that you did not vote in favor of? Why or why not?
When you're talking about a lot, 7 board members, not everyone is going to agree on every topic all the time. I think it comes to compromise, and we need to make the best decision that we can make as a group. I think it's important to make a decision as a group. And the term solution-oriented compromises, we're compromising toward a solution. Eric said earlier, somebody is not everyone is going to leave the table happy all the time. But if we can get to a common ground and make compromises that aren't, find a common ground so that the compromises aren't so polar opposite. We need to always keep the kids, make the decisions for the kids the best that we can. In terms of, I think making the decisions, could I stand behind something that I didn't fully agree with? For the good of the students, yes. I could be convinced, but I hold strong, it would be a big fight. It would be a big conversation.
Thank you. Abby?
Do I get to use the I dissent on the board? Can I support a decision or, that I personally, am not in agreement with? I think this is one of those situations where it can be, both things can be true, where I disagree, but whatever is happening is for the good of the body. I would hope that the disagreements would not be around, it would be more around the how do we implement something as opposed to the philosophy around something, because we're not going to get anything done around philosophies, right? So we have to get things done around fact and data, and that's what we need to make those decisions. That's what I would use to quell any arguments or disagreements that's happening. What the data says is what the data says. We can't argue with numbers, right? Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. So we have to use the numbers to help make our decisions. I do not believe in supporting something that I feel will genuinely harm the students, and so if I have to abstain from the particular vote, then I will abstain, because that in itself is me speaking on behalf of the children and the families.
Thank you. Eric?
Well, I mean, this is part of the reason why there's a board and not just a single director, right? So, I somewhat question whether or not the decision-making process ever becomes that dialectical where it's an either-or approach. But, to the extent that, as I mentioned before, I'm more interested in making the pie bigger than fighting over who gets what slice of it. So the goal would be to come to a solution, a workable solution that everybody could live with. But to the extent that there's a decision that's being made that I just fundamentally disagree with, I don't have any problems, voting no. That's why there's other members of the board, and if they make that decision, that's the decision of the board. It's no different than, when legislators pass law or when the Supreme Court, hands down a ruling. Sometimes it's unanimous, sometimes it's not. Most of the time it's not. And at the end of the day, it becomes what it becomes. The decision of the board after the vote is the decision of the board. It's what becomes the policy. It's what becomes the procedure. It simply is. Does that mean that we need to have a massive public debate about it after the fact? Probably not. To the extent that I feel really passionate about something, I typically don't keep it to myself. But at the end of the day, I hope that that doesn't become the case, and that the board works more collaboratively toward consensus solutions than toward, fisticuffs at the table.
Thank you. Naomi?
So this is going back to something that I had said earlier, that everyone has one vote. And, once there's a majority vote and a decision, that's when the decision has been made. You don't have to have everyone voting, you just need a majority. Now, consensus building is an important piece here, and that is that no board member governs alone. Each member has one vote. To be most effective, I think, I believe strongly that the board needs to work collaboratively, respectfully, listen to perspectives, stay focused on our shared goals. Consensus building is important for civil discourse. Board members do not have to agree on every issue, but we do need to be able to listen respectfully, ask thoughtful questions, and engage in productive conversation, even during difficult discussions. That kind of professionalism helps build trust and leads to stronger decision-making. Throughout my time on the board, I've engaged in lots of dialogue in the public, and some people don't feel comfortable with that, but you must get comfortable with that. It's really important that we do have conversations in the public, and that we're professional, and that we're treating each other with respect and kindness. Kindness is not a liability, it's not a weakness. It's imperative for conversation. So I believe that moving forward, the district, we need to support students, we need to model civility, we need to model kindness in everything that we do.
Thank you. Sarah?
Okay, well, I think that this is a very important question. We must always focus on the students, and we must always use facts and keep opinions out of something as important as a decision that involves our children. It's not about choosing sides, it's about leading thoughtfully, responsibly, working together like a team, but being respectful. And once a decision is made, I strongly believe that everybody has to support that decision out in public spaces, anywhere that they are, so that they remain united. I've been in different organizations, and the other point to this is, if you're really at odds about something and it's so important, pause, take a reflection, get some expertise, because it's for our kids and it's important.
Okay, thank you. This is now going to be our last question before we go to the closing statements. And we will be starting with Abby. What differentiates you from the other candidates?
Deep question. What differentiates me? It's perspective. So I am coming from the space of being an immigrant to this country, being a first graduate of any school, actually, from my family. I am a youth development professional, so I've spent my entire life literally working with and for children. I understand how children think, I understand what they need, I understand what parents think. I am a parent, so I know what parents need and what parents want. And that perspective is what I'm bringing to the conversation. I'm also bringing the okay to be the not okay at the table. I'm okay with being the bad guy at the table if it means that it's going to bring a situation or an issue to the forefront. I'm okay with drilling down on a topic or a particular issue to ensure that it is addressed and addressed effectively. I'm all right with being the bold guy. We'll say the bold gal, not the bad guy.
I mean, I think Abby's on something there insofar as, we all bring a different perspective to the table. We bring different professional backgrounds to the table. We bring different life experiences to the table. I come to the table as, former, raised in a blue-collar family. I'm still paying off my student loans. And, I bring a professional standpoint to it. I bring a business and financial mindset to it. But I also bring a unique unique problem solving, or at least unique to attorneys anyway, a unique problem solving approach that I've learned over the last 15 years as an attorney working, to structure very complex transactions and deals, and to, bring a lot of diverse interests, varying interests to the table to get something done. That honestly, I think that we all bring something to the table, and the main thing that differentiates me is I'm a new voice. I have a professional background, and I've got the motivation to do this, for this sense of my kids and for the community as well. Although I'm sure everyone here does as well.
Thank you. Naomi?
So I'm a parent, but really and I've been really involved in this community for over 20 years, but what really differentiates me is my institutional knowledge. I've been serving on this board almost 9 years, and I have 30 years of professional experience in fiscal oversight, governance, and so I'm familiar with budgets, and I'm familiar with long-term planning, accountability, and accustomed to really diving into getting into the weeds and with complex decision-making. What I haven't mentioned yet is that I also serve on the BOCES Board of Education, and going on 6 years. I'm currently the president of that board, and what is really important about that experience that also further differentiates me is that I've become familiar with the issues with workforce development, career and technical education, special education services, and regional challenges facing public education. That has brought it front and center for me. And so I do think that makes me uniquely qualified and also differentiates me.
Okay. Thank you. Sarah?
Okay. Well, I feel like I've had an enormous amount of experience. I've been a classroom teacher. I've been on Shen. I literally haven't left Shen for over 22 years. I've raised 5 children here. I have a legal background which strengthens my understanding of governance and responsibilities. I've worked with budgets in many different areas, so I have fiscal responsibility. I not only think that it's a big picture, but I also believe that I bring a steady, positive, and collaborative voice, remembering to support our students, our families, our educators, our teachers, our staff, our entire community, and everything that I do that is always a focus. And I think that would be something that would be very helpful.
Thank you. Patrice?
Thank you. All of us here are parents. All of us here are community members. What differentiates me from the others that I'm sitting with is that I have been in education for 30 years. At a different district, I have worked with my board, I have worked with my union, I have worked as a union representative with my Board of Education. I have that background knowledge to share. I'm calm, I'm thoughtful, I'm unassuming. I think those are skills that are needed when we are making big decisions and going through big topics. As a board member, I'm just getting started. I have a little bit of background knowledge, just enough to get me excited to keep going.
Okay, thank you. It's now time for your closing statements. Candidates, you have no more than 1 minute each, and the first to speak will be Eric.
I would like to be able to bring to the table, like I said previously, a fresh perspective, one that opens the board to the community, provides transparency, and really makes people feel like they have a voice and that it's being heard. I think that the Board of Education and the school district in general is a great way for us to be a community, to come together as a community for the benefit of our students. It doesn't need to be necessarily need to be a political process. It doesn't necessarily need to be an adversarial process. I think that if we all come together and try to do what is best for the students, that we will be able to achieve amazing things. My goal is to be able to play a small part in the lives of our students, my kids, and to leave a positive influence and make sure that we're preparing people for the future. That minute goes fast.
Thanks, Eric. Naomi.
Hi. Thank you for tonight and this opportunity. I'm seeking re-election because I believe experienced, steady leadership matters during times of transition and growth for our district. As a parent, longtime volunteer, and board member, I bring a perspective shaped by decades of direct involvement with students, families, staff, and our community. I am here for every student, but I am also here for our board members. I do believe that it's important to mentor each other, to work with each other, to move forward. Over the past 9 years, I've helped guide the district through important decisions, periods of change, and opportunities that will shape Shen's future for years to come, including transitioning our new superintendent and opening a TRIA, our full-day kindergarten program. I've said it before, and I said it again, I am here for every student. Most importantly, I remain committed to being visible, accessible, and focused on what's best for all. I care deeply about this community, and I would be honored to continue serving Shen with empathy, collaboration, and with kind and thoughtful leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you again to the League of Women Voters, PTA Council, and especially all of our community members for coming out tonight and being engaged advocates for our children and our schools. Shen succeeds when we work together. My vision is simple and straightforward: to strengthen communication and transparency, foster meaningful engagement and respect across our district, support a healthy and positive school culture, and work collaboratively to support student excellence. I believe now is the time for me to serve because I bring a unique combination of educational experience, legal and policy knowledge, community leadership, and more than 22 years of active involvement on our campus. It would truly be an honor to serve the Shenendehowa community.
Thank you. Patrice.
Thank you again to the PTA Council for hosting tonight's forum, and to everyone who came out or logged in. Thank you to those of you who submitted thoughtful questions. Whether they were chosen to be used in tonight's forum or not, your continued engagement in our schools is very much valued. Serving on the Board of Education has reinforced my belief that strong schools depend on strong partnerships between families, educators, administrators, and the community. My past experiences guide how I approach my role on the Board of Education, with respect for different perspectives, a commitment to collaboration, and a focus on doing what's best for students. These decisions are not always easy, especially in times when issues can feel divisive. But I believe that thoughtful, transparent leadership and a willingness to truly listen can move us forward in a positive and productive way. I'm asking for your support so I can continue this work with dedication, integrity, and a steady focus on the success and well-being of every student in our district. Thank you for your time, your engagement, and your commitment to our schools.
Thank you. Abby.
So this is personal for me, as I mentioned, and I remind you all that I was that student, the one who needed someone in their corner, the one who had potential that not everyone could see, who needed a champion inside the system to help her find her way. I know what it feels like to move through an institution and wonder if anyone truly sees me. That student is why I am here, not just as a mother, not just as a professional, but as someone who lived it and who refuses to sit on the sidelines while other children have that same experience without anyone stepping forward for them. I'm stepping up and stepping forward, and I came into this race as a challenger, and I know what it means. It means I have to earn this. Here is what I know about myself. I show up, I ask hard questions, I do not shy away from uncomfortable conversations when the outcome affects young people, and I will bring that same energy to every board discussion, every board budget discussion, every decision that crosses the table. 2 seats are open, and all I'm asking for is one of them.
Okay, thank you. Everyone, please vote on May 19th. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Again, that's Tuesday, May 19th at Gowanna Middle School Gym. Applications for absentee ballots and/or early mail-in ballots are available at the district office, or information can be found on the school district's website. Thank you to all the candidates, no clapping, not quite yet, for attending this event and helping to educate the voters in the Shenendehowa Central School District. I want to thank the public for submitting questions and the viewers who have taken time to attend the event live or watch us in the future because it is being recorded. And thank you really to the audience members for showing an interest in your community and for being such a great audience. Really appreciate it. Please join me now in a round of applause for all of our candidates, and have a good night. You can keep your cards. I'll take the red cards. You can keep the others.